Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at someone so massively successful and thought, what do they have that I don't? Maybe you work just as hard, maybe you're even smarter, but somehow they rise and you're still grinding. The truth, it's not luck, it's not connections, and it's sure as hell not magic. There are patterns, there are principles, there are invisible rules that the truly successful live by, even if they don't talk about them. And today, I'm going to pull back the curtain, because what really separates the successful from the rest is not out of reach. In fact, it's already inside you, just buried under doubt, fear, and distractions. So if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever known you're capable of more, then stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the truth about success. Not the Instagram version, not the sugar-coated lie, but the raw, powerful reality. And if you get this, not just hear it, but live it, your life will never be the same again. I want you to take a moment and think about something very simple, but incredibly powerful. Why do you do what you do? What drives you to get up in the morning? Because the truth is, without clarity, without a crystal clear reason, nothing else matters. You can have all the skills, all the resources, and all the motivation in the world, but if you don't know exactly where you're headed, you'll wander in circles, getting tired and frustrated, wondering why success keeps slipping through your fingers. Now, I'm not talking about a vague dream or a half-hearted wish. I'm talking about a purpose so clear, it's like a beacon that cuts through the fog every single day. The people who make it, the ones we call successful, they have that clarity. They don't just want to be rich or famous or respected. They want to change something. Maybe it's their life, maybe it's the lives of others, maybe it's the entire world. And that why is so strong, it pulls them forward no matter what's in their way. Let me tell you something most people don't realize. Clarity is not just about setting goals on a list or writing down what you want to achieve. It's about feeling your purpose deep in your bones so that every action you take, every choice you make aligns with that core mission. When you have that, obstacles don't stop you, they fuel you. When others get discouraged or distracted, you stay locked in because your why is bigger than any setback. Think about the last time you were truly motivated. I'm talking about a time when you felt unstoppable. Chances are it was because you had a reason that mattered. Maybe it was your family, your legacy, or a vision you couldn't ignore. That's the secret sauce. It's what separates the successful from the rest. They know their purpose so clearly that failure isn't a possibility. It's just a stepping stone on the way to what's next. And here's the kicker. Clarity creates confidence. When you know exactly what you're working toward, you don't second guess yourself, you don't get stuck in analysis paralysis or waste energy on distractions. You say, this is my path, I'm walking it no matter what. The world starts to open doors because your energy matches your mission. People notice your conviction. You start to attract opportunities because you're no longer sending mixed signals to yourself or to the world. So if you want to be among the successful, you have to dig deep and ask yourself, what is my why? Not the surface level answer, but the real, raw reason that gets you fired up every morning. When you find that, hold it like a lifeline, write it down, say it out loud, let it become your compass in moments of doubt. Because without that clarity, all the effort you put in will feel like spinning wheels in the mud. And here's the truth I want you to take away. Clarity is the foundation. Without it, everything else crumbles. But with it, you build unstoppable momentum. Now that you understand the power of clarity, let me talk about something even more critical, something that separates those who merely dream from those who actually succeed. It's called ownership. And I don't mean just owning a business or owning a title. I mean owning everything in your life. Your results, your mistakes, your feelings, your choices. The successful don't sit around waiting for the world to hand them what they want. They don't blame the economy, the system, or other people for their failures. They own their reality, no matter how hard or uncomfortable that is. Listen, it's easy to point fingers. It's easier to say, I couldn't succeed because, and fill in the blank with 1,000 excuses. But here's the hard truth. Excuses keep you exactly where you are. They're the language of the average, the comfort zone of the mediocre. If you want to separate yourself, you have to stop playing the victim. You have to stand up and say, this is my life. I am responsible for what happens to me. When you take that kind of ownership, something incredible happens. You stop feeling helpless and you start feeling powerful, because ownership means you have the power to change everything. It means if you didn't get the result you wanted, it's not because the world is against you, it's because you haven't figured out the right way yet. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every obstacle becomes a challenge you're ready to meet head on. I want you to imagine for a moment a person who refuses to take ownership. They blame everyone but themselves. They complain about their job, their boss, their circumstances, their past. But what does that get them? Nothing. Because as long as they're blaming, they're giving away their power. They're handing control to others. They become a passenger in their own life, waiting for someone else to fix it. Contrast that with the person who takes ownership. They wake up every day saying, I'm in charge here. When things go wrong, they ask, what can I do differently? When they face setbacks, they ask, what lesson is here for me? They refuse to let circumstances define them. That mindset creates resilience, it creates confidence, and it creates unstoppable momentum. Taking ownership is not easy. It's uncomfortable because it forces you to look in the mirror and face the truth. Sometimes you've made mistakes. Sometimes you've fallen short. But guess what? That's the beginning of true growth. Because the moment you stop blaming and start owning, you become a creator. You're no longer a victim of life. You're the architect of your future. And here's what separates the successful. They embrace this mindset fully. No excuses, no delays, no waiting for someone else to hand them permission or opportunity. They say, this is my life. I own it. I will make it happen. That's the kind of mindset that moves mountains and breaks through barriers. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop blaming and start owning? Because the moment you do, you step onto the path that separates the successful from the rest. Now let's talk about action, because here's the truth that most people don't want to admit. The world rewards those who do, not those who just think or plan or wait. You can have the clearest vision in the world and the strongest mindset, but if you don't move, if you don't take massive action, nothing changes. The successful aren't perfect, far from it. What they have is one thing that puts them leagues ahead. They are relentless in their willingness to act, even when they don't feel ready. Think about how many times you've held yourself back because you felt you needed more time, more knowledge, more resources. You thought, I'll start when the timing is right, or I need to be sure I won't fail. But here's the harsh reality. The perfect moment rarely comes. Waiting for the stars to align is just another form of procrastination. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is often just this. The successful move forward despite uncertainty, despite fear, despite imperfection. The power of massive imperfect action is this. It creates momentum. It breaks the paralysis of overthinking and self-doubt. Every step forward, no matter how small, sends a message to your brain and your life that you're serious, that you're committed, and momentum builds on itself. The more you move, the easier it becomes to move again. I want you to picture a car stuck in the mud. If you don't press the gas, the wheels just spin and you stay stuck. But if you push the accelerator, even if it's just a little bit, you start to gain traction. Momentum builds. You inch forward. That's exactly how massive action works in life. The successful know this instinctively. They don't wait for perfect plans or flawless timing. They start where they are with what they have. They learn as they go, they adjust, they pivot, they course correct, but they don't stop because they understand something crucial. Action beats hesitation every time. There's a magic that happens when you commit to doing. Suddenly, problems you feared turn into puzzles you solve. Fear fades because you realize that failure isn't the end, it's feedback. Every misstep is a lesson, a stepping stone toward improvement. Here's the thing, the rest are stuck in analysis paralysis. They study, they worry, they prepare endlessly. But without action, preparation is just dreaming. The successful, they jump in, they make mistakes, and then they keep going. That's why progress happens for them and not for those waiting on the sideline. So I'm challenging you right now. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Start now, imperfectly, messily, boldly. Take that first step and then the next. Trust me, it's in the doing where your power lives. Let me tell you something about growth. It's not just a nice idea or some optional habit. It's a requirement if you want to separate yourself from the pack. The people who succeed understand something deeply true. If you're not growing, you're dying. Life is always moving forward, and if you stand still, the world moves past you. But growth is a decision, a daily choice to get better, stronger, wiser, and more capable. Think about it. The successful don't believe they've arrived. They don't rest on past achievements or coast on what worked yesterday. They're hungry for more. More knowledge, more skill, more understanding. They commit themselves to a process of constant learning, whether it's through books, mentors, experiences, or even failures. They soak up everything they can because they know that growth is the engine that drives progress. What's really fascinating is how growth changes your mindset. When you make growth your priority, setbacks stop feeling like disasters. Instead, they become opportunities to learn and evolve. You stop fearing change because you realize it's essential to keep moving forward. The successful embrace discomfort because they know that's where transformation happens. If you want to stand out, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable, to stretch beyond what feels safe and familiar. I want you to imagine a tree that stops growing. It might look okay for a while, but eventually it starts to wither. Growth isn't just about adding new things to your life. It's about renewing, shedding old beliefs, and expanding your capacity. The successful know that they have to keep feeding their minds and spirits. They invest in themselves relentlessly because they understand that the greatest asset they have is their ability to grow. Here's the secret that separates the successful from the rest. They don't wait for motivation to strike or for inspiration to hit. They create habits of growth, daily rituals that keep them moving forward no matter what. They read, they listen, they ask questions, they seek feedback, they surround themselves with people who challenge and uplift them. They know that your environment shapes your growth just as much as your mindset does. But here's the kicker. Growth is never a straight line. It's messy. It's full of setbacks and surprises. Sometimes you'll feel like you're going backward. But those moments are part of the process. The difference is that the successful never give up. They keep pushing, keep learning, keep adapting. They have patience with the process because they know it's a journey, not a sprint. So ask yourself, are you committed to growth? Are you willing to invest in yourself every day, even when it's hard? Because that commitment is what separates the successful from everyone else. It's not talent or luck. It's the relentless pursuit of becoming a better version of yourself. Let's get real for a moment about what really holds people back. It's not their skills, their education, or even their resources. It's what's happening inside them, their emotions, their mindset, their ability to handle the pressure. Success is 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. And the difference between those who win and those who don't often comes down to emotional fortitude, the capacity to manage fear, doubt, stress, and overwhelm without losing your power. Think about it. Everyone faces challenges. Everyone hits walls. What separates the successful isn't the absence of fear or anxiety, it's their response to it. They build emotional strength like a muscle. When fear knocks on their door, they don't slam it shut or hide under the covers. They open the door and say, I see you, but you're not stopping me. They don't let doubt become a roadblock. They use it as fuel to push harder. Emotional fortitude means you don't collapse under pressure. When stress piles up and the stakes get high, you stay calm, focused, and clear-headed. That's what allows you to make smart decisions, keep momentum going, and rise above chaos. It's not about being emotionless. It's about mastering your emotions so they serve you instead of sabotaging you. Now, this isn't something that just happens overnight. It's a skill that the successful develop through experience, practice, and deliberate effort. They build habits that strengthen their inner game. Meditation, visualization, journaling, or simply taking time to reset and recalibrate. They train themselves to respond differently to setbacks, to reframe challenges as opportunities, and to stay anchored when the storm hits. Here's the thing. The mind is incredibly powerful, but also incredibly fragile. Left unchecked, your thoughts can spiral into fear and doubt, dragging you down into paralysis. But with emotional fortitude, you learn to catch those thoughts before they run wild. You become the commander of your own mind instead of its victim. And when you can control your mind, you control your results. Think about some of the most successful people you admire. They didn't get there by luck. They got there by building resilience, by refusing to be knocked out by setbacks, by mastering their emotions and staying committed to their vision no matter what. Their emotional strength gave them the endurance to keep going when others gave up. So here's the challenge. How do you respond when fear or doubt shows up? Do you let it stop you or do you let it sharpen you? Because if you want to be truly successful, you must develop emotional fortitude. You must become unshakable on the inside so nothing outside can derail you. Let me share something that surprises most people when they hear it. Sometimes the difference between success and failure isn't about what you add to your life, it's about what you let go. You can pile on goals, strategies, books, and habits, but if you're dragging around old baggage, resentment, ego, or distractions, you're carrying dead weight, and dead weight will hold you back every time. You see, success isn't just about pushing harder or grinding longer. It's about traveling light. The people who reach the highest levels know when to release what no longer serves them. They let go of limiting beliefs, toxic relationships, unnecessary commitments, and the stories they tell themselves about why they can't succeed. That willingness to release is as powerful as any skill or resource you bring to the table. Imagine trying to climb a mountain while carrying a backpack full of rocks. No matter how strong you are, how skilled you are, the rocks slow you down. The successful understand that you can't climb that mountain if you're weighed down by old fears, grudges, or doubts. So they learn to drop the rocks one by one, freeing themselves to move faster, higher, and with more energy. Letting go isn't easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things we face. Ego convinces us to hold on to pride or the need to be right. Fear tells us that change is risky, that losing control is dangerous. But here's the truth. Holding on to those things is far riskier. It keeps you stuck, exhausted, and frustrated. It blinds you to new possibilities because your attention is caught up in what's already behind you. Those who succeed learn to recognize when they're clutching too tightly. They ask themselves hard questions. What beliefs am I holding that aren't true anymore? What relationships drain my energy? What stories about my past or my abilities are keeping me stuck? And then they make the conscious decision to release those chains. This process of letting go creates space for growth, space for new opportunities, and space for clarity. When your mind and heart are clear, your energy is focused, and your power multiplies, you become lighter, sharper, and more aligned with your true purpose. Here's something many overlook. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or ignoring your past. It means accepting it, learning from it, and then choosing not to carry it forward as a burden. It means forgiveness for others, for yourself. And that's one of the most freeing acts you can perform. So I want you to think about what you might be holding on to today that's holding you back. What do you need to release so you can move forward with full power? Because no matter how much you want success, if you're dragging dead weight, you're not going to get very far.